Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. Today's exciting episode is a look at tweeds and where to buy them so that you can make your own Chanel style jacket.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
A year or two ago, I made an episode all about tweeds, and then right at the end I said where you could buy them, and all the comments were like, can you just tell me where to buy them? Can you just tell me where to buy them? So I will do that. I'll just skip to the good bits. And also, if you see the description box down below, just click on that and you can take a screenshot of that or copy and paste the info. It will just be in there if you're in a rush. But these are all Linton tweeds from Linton Tweed in the UK. It's a mill, so they spin their own yarn, and then they have the weaving machines there as well to weave their own. And they've got lots of different machines, so different tweeds are different widths as well. So they make all different types of tweeds. And this is String Theory. That's one of my favourite ones. That's from 2011, possibly. And actually, these three are quite old ones. This one is sort of like an oatmeal colour with ribbons in there as well, sort of greyish mauve ones. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to put some glass pearls on there in the same colour as the ribbon. And tagged on to the end of this video is an update on my Tempest jacket. Yes, I'm still working on it. So and I did that bit first. So if you want to go in strict chronological order, you can listen to that bit first, then come back to the start. So tweeds and where to find them. This is a Chanel style tweed, and there's only a few places left in the world where you can get those, but we'll go with the Linton tweeds and mood fabrics first, because they're the ones that you'll use as, well, not starter tweeds, but when you want your first expensive tweed. So Linton Tweed, you just go there and click on fabric and it'll show you all the tweeds, and then you click on each one and it just gives you all the specifications, like the colours, and like this is a Leno tweed, what type of weave it is. And there's also a thing that says you can search for fabrics by colour or by weight. If you're doing your first expensive tweed, I would avoid the really light ones, and I would avoid the really heavy coating weight ones. You don't have to understand what weights are. Just don't get the bottom ones and don't get the top ones. Sort of go for the middle ones. I get a lot of people asking me how much fabric they should buy. You have to choose your pattern first, and you have to make a mock-up, and you have to get the mock-up right first in cheap cotton fabric before you can think about buying your tweed, in my opinion. I mean, if you just want to buy the tweed because tweed is unique and they sometimes only make 20 yards of something or 50 yards and that's it, they won't make it again for another 5 or 10 years, or maybe never. This particular tweed was from Etsy. I don't recommend it. It took literally 4 months to get here. And yeah, Etsy sort of either has quite cheap ones or extremely expensive ones from people who have tweed collectors who are selling off parts of their collection, usually so they can afford to buy some more very expensive tweeds. So yeah, it's a bit hit and miss, I'd say, Etsy. This tweed was also from Etsy, but it's basically strips of fabric woven together extremely loosely, and as soon as you cut into it, it falls apart. So again, I know a lot of beginners are very confident, but it's just heartbreaking when you cut into a tweed and it just disintegrates. Like, tweeds are just so beautiful. It's such a shame to wreck it. So I would go with Mood Fabrics or Linton Tweeds. They're good quality tweeds and they're not cheap, but they are good starter quality tweeds. So yeah, and you also need your outer fabric is tweed, and you need a structural layer, which is netting, or you can use quilting cotton, pre-washed quilting cotton. And yeah, so you just buy that from Joann's, or any large fabric store will have quilting cottons or netting, and that's your backing fabric. And then you also, for the lining, you need silk. And I personally, I mean, I think Linton Tweeds has recently started selling silk, but I've never used that silk, so I can't vouch for the quality of it. I'm sure it's fine. But Mood Fabrics, they have charmeuse. It's silk charmeuse. Make sure you get 100% silk, not the sort of one with like 2% elastane or anything. Just make sure you always get 100% silk. But Mood Fabrics, if you just get the plain colored one, it's only like $33 American, which is amazing, and it's such good quality. So I would highly recommend. That's my go-to place. But they also have sometimes on sale, the print ones. The plain ones are absolutely never on sale, but $33 per yard is an excellent price for that quality of fabric. And I know some people love starching fabrics before they cut into it. Please don't do that to tweed or silk. It's you shouldn't do that to dry clean only fabrics. I mean, do what you want. It's your jacket to make however you want, but just bear in mind the cost of dry cleaning. And dry cleaning doesn't. It's kind of like fancy version of vacuuming your clothes. It doesn't really get everything out. So yeah, I would be extremely hesitant to use any sort of starched style fabrics on anything you can't wash afterwards. Anyway, so yeah, that's where you get your tweeds, either Mood Fabrics or in New York City, and they also have a store in LA, but the online one is, I've never had a problem with them delivering, and it's a reasonable delivery and it's quite quick. And the UK, Linton Tweeds in the UK, the same. They deliver around the world and pretty reasonable. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I just get asked these questions all the time. So yes, those two places are the best for good quality at a reasonable price. You're not going to get a cheap tweed anywhere, I don't think, not a good one. I mean, go to Joann's or any big fabric store, and they'll probably have a suiting section, and they'll have something synthetic. So if you want a really basic fabric, just as a starter one to make your mistakes on something that isn't expensive, then definitely do that. And you can also get like synthetic silk from a Joann's or a big fabric store, and you can just use that to make your lining first off. And if you decide you really love the jacket, you can always carefully take out that lining and replace it with silk later on. If I wasn't able to sew silk on my sewing machine, I would just sew it by hand, because actually sewing it by hand is better. The really expensive jackets like haute couture, there's ready to wear, which is, they're allowed to use sewing machines when they make that. And then there's haute couture, which is super expensive, bespoke. It's like a man's bespoke suit. Well, the women's version is haute couture. And that has to be, they have to do everything by hand. I think they're for the long seams, so the main seams, they're allowed to use vintage sewing machines. And just make sure when you are sewing silk that you use a microtex needle. It's just much sharper and it goes through the silk without pulling on it, so you don't damage your fabric. So but I mean, silk is a very floaty, slippery fabric, but I definitely recommend silk charmeuse, which is it's a medium weight silk, but it's much heavier than chiffon, which is probably what a lot of people are familiar with silk-wise. So yeah, those are probably my main two. But if you've made a few jackets and you want something eye-wateringly expensive, I would, next time you're going to New York or Paris, I would just Google European designer fabrics, or anywhere in Italy as well. I just Google European designer fabrics and go to those stores. It's those stores with really, really expensive tweeds tend not to have the best online stores because, I mean, they're just so expensive. Everyone who buys really, really expensive tweeds or any fabrics, they want to touch them and they want to feel them first, because you actually have to see an expensive tweed and touch it and feel the weight and look at the quality of all the yarns in there to know that it's what it is. Because, I mean, anyone can sell something on Etsy and go, oh my God, this is a Chanel tweed, like totally. But I don't know. So that's pretty much it. You can follow Linton Tweeds on Instagram. They're pretty active on their Instagram. Fabrics has one too, but I think their YouTube channel, they update that semi-regularly. But, I mean, their website is really good. With Linton, yeah, Instagram, they tell you when their summer sale is, which is usually in August, and then they have a Black Friday sale as well. Each Wednesday, they have a flash sale on, like, you know, this week it was pink, so they picked 3 or 4 pink ones, and some of the fabrics were £10 off, some were £5 off. So if you've got your eye on something, but it's just a little out of your price range, wait a few weeks and yeah, maybe you'll get lucky. And obviously, if you don't live in the UK, you have to, like, it just will disappear at the wrong time. So it's Wednesday on UK time. So I think it's like 24 hours. Anyway, these are the jacket patterns that I use most frequently, Vogue 7975, and I've got a video on how you make the mock-up and how you fit it. I've got a million dozens of videos on how to construct the Chanel style jacket. And yeah, I've also got one on frequently asked questions. So there's like a playlist for make your own Chanel style jacket. Mood Fabrics has a sales section, which is awesome. And Linton Tweeds has a end of line page where, like, the last 2 meters of fabric will be slightly discounted or something like that. So check out under fabrics, click on fabrics and then click off end of line, and you'll see the range that they have, and it updates all the time. So keep checking back if you're determined to get yourself a bargain. Okay, now it's time for an update on the Tempest jacket. Okay, this is my second attempt at doing the voiceover. So at the start of May, I fully intended to get out everything that I've made that I still own and do like everything pink that I've made, everything green that I've made. But yeah, just the idea of there's just so many displaced people in my newsfeed at the moment and, you know, in the world at the moment. And I just find it really distressing. And having, you know, been involuntarily displaced a few times in my life, it just must be so absolutely heart-wrenching and traumatizing and re-traumatizing to just be displaced 15 times in the past, you know, half year or so. Anyway, so obviously this is just a recap of me doing the Tempest jacket. And so yeah, instead of getting all my things out and packing all my things away, I was just like, no, I can't face that at the moment. It's just going to remind me of all the times I had to hurriedly leave the country because victim of long-term stalking. Because long ago when I was a child, my mum, in her infinite wisdom, decided she wanted to be a stage mother, and so put me on a TV show, which ended up with me being the target of an incredible amount of unwanted attention from very creepy adults. But so this is the jacket. And so I beaded it, and then I didn't like that beading. So then I beaded it again here. I sort of took off some of the beads and made it so that the colour, they were more colour coordinated. And then, this is me just admiring it. And then after I did this, I did another section at the top. And then I did some more beading, but it didn't all match. And then eventually I take the beading off. When I get to the new round of beading, I'll start talking about the beading again. But yeah, so that's why you've been seeing me making this one same jacket over and over again. I think I've just been really rattled by what's going on in the world, particularly the one big conflict. But no one seems to be doing anything. Anyone who has any power to do anything is just not. And it's, yeah, incredibly frustrating and distressing. And obviously other people are going through more than, our feelings don't matter quite so much, but they do. Doesn't make our feelings invalid at all in any way. But anyway, so I have been working on this jacket, and quite fittingly called the Tempest. But I've just been thinking about Shakespeare as well, and why he writes, because I'm a writer, and yeah, it's just about why you create, or why you sew what you sew, whatever your creative outlets are. And I've just been thinking about why we do what we do, and what choices we make, and how they help us get through and see who we really are, that sort of thing. And just sort of thinking maybe more deeply than usual. So this is where I took the top 3 layers off and decided to re-bead them in yet more glass beads. So at this point there was just so much weight on the jacket, and of course I was overthinking everything in my life at the same time. So there was just so much weight dragging the whole thing down, and I was overthinking it far too much. But also, I don't know, I kind of started this channel as a way to document the jackets, and keeping me, because I was sort of like, oh, I'll do some more work on my jacket whenever, and I kept putting it off. So yeah, at that point, I just decided to give up on that. It was just getting way too heavy, so I just carefully unpicked all those beads. And because I'd done nothing else, I had to show you a fabric haul, and and this is an old sample that I did, an old beading sample of sequins. And this cherry fabric, I'm going to put sequins in the cream bits. And I don't know, it might look horrible, but it might look cute. And so with the Mediterranean jacket, I took all those beads off, and now I'm just reapplying them in. My original idea was to do 1 bead per square of fabric, and that's what I've done here. So on the white sections, I've got the whitish beads, the cream, the really pale peach, and then on the sort of decorator fabric strips that are in sort of seaweed color and the tempestuous waves, that teal color, then I've used those colours on that. So it's basically the tweed, but an amped up version of it. So this is me just showing you my tray of all the pearls and the clear glass beads, and they're very beautiful. And this is the ocean one with bits of shells and seaweed, and there's little skull beads in there as well, and some really beautiful glass ones. So yeah, I've done a few rows, and this is, I think I had only done halfway round before, and now I've done all the way around. So there's a sample on the cuff and the bottom of the main part of the jacket. So I decided, yes, this is definitely what the beading's going to be like. And now the next stage is to do the triangle on the back, and this is going to be just a feature of all the really big, beautiful, expensive beads that I wanted to use on the jacket. I'm just so determined to use them on the jacket. So here they are, and there's just going to be a triangle feature on the back there. And it just gives an extra weight to the jacket, and it sort of makes you sit up straighter as well. So plus it's a good way to use up beads. And yes, so you sort of work in spirals, and that way the weight is nice and even. So I'm slowly doing that, but it's really, really painfully slow. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to take a break and do a few more plain rows at the bottom of the jacket, because I still have to do the whole of the jacket as well. So yeah, I sort of stopped doing the big tricky bit at this point, and I did 3 more white rows, I think, because there's a thin row and a sort of medium-sized row that need to be done next in the white. And I happen to have some cream threads already, needles already threaded. So there we go. And yeah, I'm slowly working my way up. It's a lot quicker doing this beading than the other. But the way I've got the jacket, it kind of looks like the triangle isn't straight. So I'm going to have to measure the top of the triangle, the middle of the triangle, and the bottom point of the triangle just to make sure it's straight. I think it's the angle that I filmed at, but I'll go figure that out, and then I'll go do some more beading, and then I'll be back. It's the next day. Yes, it was just the angle that I was filming at, but also the way that I'd put the beads on. And yeah, I'm not 100% happy with the voiceover, the second attempt at the voiceover, but I'm, running out of time, so I'll leave it. I don't want to be one of those spoilt Westerners who centers themselves in every conflict around whenever they're talking about every conflict around the world. But also as a survivor, I don't want to dismiss, the importance of acknowledging trauma. So yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to balance when talking about myself. I'm not like distressed. I just feel like, I don't know. I think the last 8 months have really made me think about my coping mechanisms, and what's worked for decades doesn't necessarily work, or what worked when you're a child or a young person doesn't necessarily work when you're an adult. So, and yeah, as a kid, I was told I wasn't allowed to cry and or make a fuss about anything ever. So, yeah, and this is me just doing more work. But yeah, the last 8 months, you just see all these babies, they're either too terrified to cry or they're crying. And I love the way toddlers just, if they're angry, they scream. If they're sad, they cry. And if they're confused, they just cry. And then for a minute or two, and then they feel better. And so, yeah, whenever I see something sad now, like when I'm at home, not out in public or anything, I just cry. And it's just so much nicer than not crying. I have to say yeah. Anyway, so, but I'm putting out 3 videos a week, so obviously I have to still work on some of my coping mechanisms. I don't think overworking is something you can do 24/7 for your entire life. So, but I can't work on every single imperfection all at once. Anyway, so I've done one side of the front, so you get a really pretty good idea of where this is going. And I've done a little bit around the sleeves, so they're going to be the same type of beading, but just slightly smaller beads. And yeah, but essentially the same thing, but slightly less, tiny bit less weight on the sleeves. And yeah, so as you can see, and I tried to show you the little spikes of seed beads that I've put in there too. This is supposed to sort of look like waves and seaweed moving in the waves sort of thing. It doesn't, but it does in my mind. So yeah, that's the update on the jacket. The next time you'll see it, she might be done. So yeah, tempestuousness nearly at an end. And yeah, I really like the way this jacket has turned out. It's been quite the journey, but I don't know, I don't mind that. These things happen, and I'm quite happy with what is going to be the finished product. So that's pretty much it for this video. Oh, there's another lingering shot of the front that's about to happen here. So I'll just show you that, because I have used some of the nicest beads in this. The ones that sort of look like a bubble are clear plastic with an AB finish. So it's kind of like a metallic or a bridal finish over the top of it. And it's just the cutest, and it's in a vanilla clear, so it's kind of like ivory or just the palest yellow. And yeah, but it's kind of transparent, and it's just so pretty. It does make the jacket seem much more cream rather than white, but I don't mind that. And these are the beads that I still have left to cram into the triangle on the back. It's going to be so bling and fabulous. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and happy sewing or happy beading or happy shopping for tweeds. Oh my God, I love looking at tweeds. They're just so completely gorgeous. Just beautiful, unique fabrics. I do love unique things. Absolutely love them. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Bye.